हाँ, हेलो। हेलो।
आ रहा है तो।
आवाज आ रही? हेलो। हेलो।
ठीक
हेलो।
है।
हेलो। हेलो, माइक टेस्ट।
तो आवाज आ रही है।
हेलो। हेलो।
हेलो क्यों लिखा मैं अपना
हेलो, माइक टेस्ट।
लगा के
your phone on silent mode. Thank you. Sri Shyam Jagannathan, IAS Director General of Shipping, and guest of honor, Mr. Arun Sharma, Chairman, Indian Register of Shipping, have arrived and will commence the program now. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I warmly welcome you all to the India Maritime Week 2025 Roadshow. This is organized by Shipping Corporation of India on behalf of Navik Cell 7. Today we will sail together into the discussion on financing the future of maritime India. They say in finance, time is money. So thank you for investing your time with us this morning. And don't worry, our returns today will not be in percentages, but in insights and the inspirations that we will get from our dignitaries. So we'll come to the next phase now. Like every good investment begins with strong fundamentals, every auspicious occasion begins with light. The lighting of the lamp is a time-honored tradition symbolizing the dispelling of darkness and illumination of knowledge. It is now time for the sacred ritual. I warmly invite our chief guest, Sri Shyam Jagannathan, IAS Director General of Shipping, along with our guest of honor, Mr. Arun Sharma, Executive Chairman, Indian Register of Shipping, Captain B.K. Tyagi, Chairman and Managing Director, Shipping Corporation of India, Mrs. J.P. Irene Cynthia, IAS Managing Director, Kamarajar Port Limited, Mr. Jose V.J., Director of Finance, Cochin Shipyard Limited, and our Director P&A, Captain Somraj, to kindly join us for lighting of the lamp, accompanied by Saraswati Vandana, invoking blessings of knowledge and wisdom to guide our path.
हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ। ने समझी है गुणियों ने जानी, वेदों की भाषा पुराणों की वाणी, मुनियों ने समझी है गुणियों ने जानी, वेदों की भाषा पुराणों की वाणी। हम भी तो समझे, हम भी तो जाने, हम भी तो समझे, हम भी तो जाने, विद्या का हमको अधिकार दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ।
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I would now request our esteemed dignitaries, our chief guest, Sri Shyam Jagannathan, Director General of Shipping, Mr. Arun sir, Chairman IRS, Captain B.K. Tyagi, CMD ACI, Madam Cynthia, MD KPL, and Director Joe sir, CSL. Please raise the dais. First, we would like to start with felicitation of our distinguished dignitaries on the dais for gracing today's function. I request CMD ACI to please welcome our chief guest, Shri Shyam Jagannathan, DG Shipping, with a potted plant. Now I request CMD ACI to felicitate our guest of honor, Mr. Arun Sharma, Executive Chairman, IR Class. I request CMD ACI to felicitate Mrs. JP Irene Cynthia, MD KPL. I request CMD ACI to felicitate Mr. Jose Vijay, Director of Finance, Cochin Shipyard. Now I request Captain Somraj, Director P&A ACI, to kindly felicitate our CMD, sir. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, to officially set sail on today's proceeding, now I warmly invite our CMD, Captain B.K. Tyagi, to render the welcome address. Sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Himanshu. You have set the tone and nice arrangements. SCI and all the Navik cell members. Thank you, everyone. आदरणीय डीजी साहब श्री श्याम जगन्नाथन साहब, श्री अरुण शर्मा जी, मैडम सिंधिया, मिस्टर जोस, all my fellow colleague directors, Captain Azad, Captain Harinder Singh, Mr. Mehta, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to this beautiful auditorium of SCI and for this road show, which is being arranged by Navik Cell number 7. And this road show is basically for India Maritime Week, which our ministry has planned in the last week of October. That is exactly roughly 1 month away now. Already many road shows have been conducted and the tone and the momentum is being created. And this is one more step in the same direction. This cell number 7 deals with the finance, and without finance, nothing can happen. So the importance of this cell, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, this Maritime Development Fund, 25,000 crore, which was announced in the last union budget. This is a part and parcel from this same Navik cell, cell number 7. So this is one of the key achievement, key contribution from Navik cell number 7. Today, we as an industry, as a country, we are in full flying mode. Few days back, our Honorable Prime Minister was in Bhavnagar. And you saw the amount of commitment from the central government to this shipping industry, to the maritime industry in India. Chip and ship. We all heard this, and very right. Today, we as a country, we have to be self-reliant, Atmanirbhar Bharat, whatever we do. And in the same philosophy, with the same philosophy, in the same direction, ship construction in India, construction of big vessels is the priority for the country. And this commitment is right from the highest office of this country. Many MOUs were signed, contracts were signed, and you will see those all things coming on the ground. Few days back, infra status is already granted to the ships. This is all the first time in Indian history, and this will help all ship owners now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you once again, and please enjoy your next couple of hours, and you will learn a lot what is happening in India. You are aware already, but you will have some more. We have the many experts here today from the finance who will help us that how we can secure the best and the cheap finance for our maritime industry. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And now again, I invite Mr. Himanshu, young officers from our team. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for the inspiring words. And the entire maritime industry will work toward this Honorable PM's vision of Made in Bharat, be it a ship or a chip. Now, I would like to share that the Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways, Government of India, is organizing the India Maritime Week 2025 from 27th to 31st October at NESCO Exhibition Center, Mumbai, India. This flagship event is aimed at showcasing India's maritime excellence, innovations, policy directions, and international collaborations. Ladies and gentlemen, to give us a glimpse of what lies ahead in India Maritime Week 2025, we have Mr. Jayvardhan from Grant Thornton, which is the knowledge partner for the event, to take the stage and brief us the highlights of the event to us. Mr. Jayvardhan, please.
Thank you. Very warm good morning to all the distinguished dignitaries on the dais and our esteemed participants. Uh, it's truly a pleasure to see so many bright minds gathered here today. I would like to thank you all for taking out your valuable time and participate in this roadshow on financing the future of maritime India. I, Jayavardhan Janartha, from Grant Thornton Bharat LLP, and we are the knowledge partner for Indian Maritime Week 2025. And I'm deeply honored to be here on the behalf of Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways and Indian Ports Association to provide you an overview about Indian Maritime Week 2025. This event holds a significant importance as it serves a crucial platform to showcase advancement, foster collaboration, and discuss strategic development that will shape the future of India's maritime sector. India Maritime Week was conceptualized during Global Maritime India Summit in 2023. Recognizing the rapid growth of maritime sector, it was decided to organize India Maritime Week in 2025. IMW will be a biennial event occurring once in 2 years. Do it next. So its journey began in 2016 as a national level summit known as Maritime India Summit, which was held here in Mumbai. It saw participation of more than 5,000 plus delegates, and in this summit, flagship program Sagar Mala was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister of India. The second edition of MIS took place virtually in 2021 because of the pandemic, which saw participation of over 20,000 plus delegates. And in this summit, Maritime India Vision 2030 was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister. After the success of one more, yeah. After the success of first two editions, Ministry rebranded the summit as Global Maritime India Summit, which returned to its original offline format and was held in Mumbai in 2023. This prestigious event saw participation of more than 29,000 plus delegates across the globe. Honorable Prime Minister launched Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047 in this summit. All these three editions have seen the presence of our Prime Minister. Next, please. During MIS 2016, MOUs worth more than 80,000 crores were signed. In the second edition, in 2021, MOUs worth 3 lakh crore were signed. And in 2023, figures surged with MOUs more than worth 8 lakh crores were signed. We are proud to share that MOUs signed in 2021, approximately 70% of the MOUs amounting to rupees 2 lakh crore and 50% of the MOUs signed in 2023 amounting to almost 5 lakh crore have been successfully grounded and the projects are now in implementation stage. These achievements shows Ministry's strong commitment and solid partnership in the maritime industry. And when I return here after 2 years in 2027, I'm confident that the remaining MOUs will have been executed and even more opportunities will be in the active implementation phase. Next, please. So IMW 25 will be taking place in Mumbai, the marine and the financial capital of this country from 27 to 31st October in UNESCO Exhibition Center. This event will see 1 lakh plus delegates participation with over 130 countries participating, 500 plus exhibitors, 200 plus domain speakers with 12 concurrent events with 140 plus sessions. This event will see the investment opportunities worth 10 lakh crores. Next, please. So we have these 7 identified partner countries, and as of now, we have the confirmed participation from Netherlands, Norway, Denmark, South Korea, and Singapore. Other than these countries, we have confirmed ministerial level participation from Egypt, Sri Lanka, Panama, and Russia, and more confirmation are still awaiting. Next, please. So these are the 12 concurrent events which will be happening from 27 to 31st October. Now GMIS is now is under the IMW umbrella, which will be happening from 27 to 28th of October, Sagar Manthan, and the Global CEO Forum, where Prime Minister which will be graced by the Honorable Prime Minister, who will engage with 2020 to 25 leading global CEOs from maritime sector. Additionally, PM will lead a closed-door discussion with a select group of these global CEOs. This is scheduled to happen on 30th of October. Then the Sagar Ratna Awards, the Maritime Achievers Award, it is UNISCAP, Maritime CEO, and Ports of the Future, which is done by the Quad Conference. And these events are taken care by the various concurrent event partners and will be happening in the UNESCO as well as the other places in Mumbai itself. Next, please. So, the Shipping Corporation of India will lead GMS thematic session on maritime human capital, which will focus on seafarers and building a future-ready maritime workforce. This session is scheduled to take place on October 29th. Next, please. So what is in it for you? You will gain an easy access for various government and private stakeholders. You'll explore investment opportunities with national and international partners, participate in joint working group sessions, engage in over 140 plus thematic discussions and dialogues, and experience an international exhibition featuring innovation and technology showcases. And I thank you all. Your presence will add immense value to this event. Your participation will contribute to the collective goal of driving innovation and sustainable growth within this vital industry. I again thank you all and look forward for the participation in this event. Thank you.
Request to kindly play the video.
From the ancient trade winds to the digital corridors of today, the oceans have always connected nations, cultures, and opportunities. At the heart of this global network stands Mumbai, a vibrant maritime capital where ideas, innovation, and investments from around the world come together. India Maritime Week emerges as a truly global platform for maritime dialogue, where policymakers, industry leaders, and innovators from around the world come together to shape the future of the blue economy. In 2025, the conversations get bigger and smarter, with visionary forums, transformative collaborations, and a shared vision for sustainable growth across the global maritime sector. From the Global Maritime India Summit to the Green Maritime Day, Sagar Manthan, the Great Ocean Dialogue to Ports of the Future, the Global Maritime CEO Forum, the Women in Maritime CEO Conference, the Sagar Ratna Awards, India Maritime Heritage, the UNESCAP Conference, and the Maritime Digitalization and Future Tech Summit, to the Competitive Financing for Blue Economy Dialogue, and Maritime Corridors, unlocking trade through strategic connectivity. India Maritime Week 2025 brings together 12 concurrent events shaping the entire spectrum of the maritime world. India Maritime Week 2025, uniting oceans, one maritime vision.
Thank you, Mr. Jayavardhan, for elaborating the highlights of India Maritime Week 2025. It is definitely an event to look forward to. As we continue our journey today, I invite our next speaker, who began his career with Shipping Corporation of India and went on to hold leadership roles across country's foremost shipping companies, while also serving on distinguished national and international maritime boards and associations. His exceptional contributions have earned him India's highest maritime recognition, the Varuna Award. May I warmly welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Arun Sharma, Executive Chairman of Indian Register of Shipping, to address the gathering.
Respected Director General of Shipping, Sri Shyamnagar Jagannathan ji, Chairman Shipping Corporation of India, Dinesh Tyagi ji, other distinguished speakers on the dais, and distinguished delegates and panelists, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. To be very honest, this morning feels like a homecoming. As I was introduced, I began my career, professional career from Shipping Corporation of India. And I'm really grateful for the insights I got into shipping throughout my stay for almost about 20 years in this company. Thank you once again, Captain Tyagi, for a very thoughtful and kind invitation today morning. Thank you once again. I'm sure as far as financing the future maritime India is concerned, there are much more knowledgeable people who will be speaking here as we go down the line. I would, of course, like to share a few thoughts on the future shipping as we see it today, from our perspective, from the perspective of ex-seafarers, from the perspective of those who are working ashore in shipping companies, from those who are in the classification societies. Let me be very frank, while the future seascape is still very hazy and the clouds are lifting, the mist is clearing, and we see that the future is definitely looking both interesting but also challenging. Veteran industry leaders and analysts say that shipping has gone through two super cycles in the last 160 years. The first one was in the 19th century when shipping moved from sail to steam. The second, from the 1940s, marked the growth of containerization and bulk shipping, which lasted about 4 decades. The current phase has been marked by emergence of complex technology and cleaner maritime transport. I think this is the challenge as we see going forward. We have been used to operating shipping in a very conventional way. All of us sitting here are fairly conversant with it. But as we go down the line, I think things are going to change. And toward this, there will be new designs involving integration of key functional areas, large sizes based on economy of scale. You have seen shipping and ships getting bigger and bigger to carry more cargo per ton mile. These will be slowly and are already being phased out. The focus is on ships which comply with lower emissions per ton mile. And I think that will be the key as we go down the line. We believe that ship sizes will become optimized, more efficient, more fuel efficient, and probably will get smaller than what they currently are. Dual fuel engines in the first wave will have more efficient diesel engines moving to hybrid diesel electric. We may note that in the next 20 years, the maritime industry must rebuild its fleet, and that's a huge order. And if this is done with the radical technology now available, it will lead to the biggest technical transition in shipping ever since shipping moved from sail to steam. We are very used to fossil fuels. In fact, they have lived longer than what we expected. But I think as we get into the future, the fossil fuels will be slowly phased out and will not become history overnight. Speed optimization will be the key as we move into the future. See, we have had operating efficiencies improved, we have had design efficiencies improved, we are now looking at new fuels. But I think whatever the gap that really emerges will need to be filled up by reducing speeds to meet the new emission norms. The targets are fast coming near us, 2030, 2040, 2050. Another thing which we are seeing now, nuclear, which was a no-no so far, is strongly coming back on the radar. When you talk to the nuclear companies, they state that we must re-examine our nostalgic unease with nuclear power and open the door for smartly engineered reactors, which are absolutely emission-free, and they will be meeting all types of our energy needs. As per them, nuclear can be safe, scalable, zero-emission technology that can provide meaningful solution to decarbonization in the maritime sector. As somebody very well known said in one of the shipping weeks a couple of months ago, that no net zero, no until you have nuclear. So no nuclear means no net zero. And I think that's the message which is now resounding loud and clear in the entire shipping fraternity. Having said this, I think as you see the future, the opportunities are immense, and so is investment. There is going to be heavy investment requirement if you have to meet the future needs of rebuilding your shipping fleet, training new people into absolutely new domain areas of fuels, nuclear, and of course, nuclear is heavily cost intensive. The government, having seen this, is definitely coming in to bridge the capital gap. India has been historically has had a high cost of capital for maritime projects. The government, new schemes like the Maritime Development Fund and the infrastructure status for large ships are direct interventions to lower the cost of borrowing. This is crucial for attracting private investment and enabling shipyards to build modern high-value vessels without the financial burden of high-interest loans. Beyond the direct financial aid, India needs to build an integrated maritime cluster. This means developing a complete ecosystem with shipyards, component suppliers, research and development facilities, and a skilled workforce. The government plans to create greenfield shipbuilding mega clusters in states like Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and the key steps in achieving this significant investment are being built. At the same time, there is a need to embrace an innovative financial instrument that can strengthen India's maritime financing ecosystem beyond the traditional means of financial loans and infrastructure bonds. The sector must increasingly turn to private equity. Unless there is private equity, mega investments are not likely to come. So I think we have to really get used to the idea that besides the government help that we are going to get, there has got to be a creation of a system which attracts private equity and private investments. As we move forward, our focus must be on financing that is not only adequate, but also strategic. Capital that builds capacity and embraces technology and delivers long-term resilience. By aligning our resources in this direction, we can ensure that India's maritime sector continues to expand in its role of a driver of national growth and a vital link in the global economy. I am sure that we are looking forward to sessions which are going to be much more finance focused, probably focus on the covering of liabilities, P&I clubs, insurance, and I will, without taking more of your time, Thank you all once again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing such valuable insights with us regarding the changing dynamics of shipping industry and a requirement of innovation in maritime financing in future. Now, I would like to invite our next speaker, under whose visionary leadership DG Shipping as a key policymaker and regulator has significantly contributed to the growth of India's maritime industry. DG Shipping has been proactively addressing industry challenges and reinforcing the regulatory framework that has been paving the way for a stronger and more sustainable maritime sector. So I proudly invite our chief guest, Shri Shyam Jagannathan, IAS Director General of Shipping, to address the gathering.
Namaskar, Shri Arun Sharma ji, Executive Chairman, IRS, and the guest of honor today, Captain B.K. Tyagi ji, CMD, Shipping Corporation of India, Madam Irene Cynthia, and GM Finance from CSL, other esteemed dignitaries of the dais. It is indeed a privilege to be here, looking at the core of how we finance the entire maritime ecosystem and how critical it is for the national economy. Please allow me to make a brief presentation, and I will link it to the slides that are being demonstrated to give you just a sneak preview on what kind of phenomenal work has been done. As Captain Tyagi sir had mentioned, the Maritime Infrastructure Development Fund, now the Maritime Development Fund. Next slide, please. This is just a snapshot to tell you that India's time has come. We are the youngest, most populous, the most stable transitioning democracy, but also the fastest growing economy globally. We'll reach the third largest economy by 27, and by all estimates by 2047, that is the end of your Amrit Kal, 100 years of independence, we would have reached, depending on various estimates, from 26 trillion to 38 trillion dollars in terms of GDP. In terms of per capita, it would be in excess of $15,500. Of course, indexed with the highest purchasing parity power that Indians per capita would have. Now, when you grow, you also consume. So much of economic growth will need substantial investments. If you look at the maritime sector, 95% of what is imported and exported is on maritime routes for India, close to 70% in sheer value terms. As on date, 4 to 4.5% of the GDP contribution is from the maritime sector. This will reach to a substantial 12% in a much larger cake in terms of the contribution from the maritime domain. Next, please. This is to underline how difficult it is to have certainty. We live in uncertain times. You all would remember what happened with the Red Sea and the Houthi rebels, the Suez Canal not being operational. You had to route vessels around the Cape of Good Hope. Now look at the incremental logistic cost. Delays by 15 to 20 days, shipments basically being withheld, 26 to 30% escalation in the costs. This was just because of one geopolitical uncertainty. You've seen Russia, Ukraine, look at the fallout. You've got EU sanctions. You've got vessels that have been sanctioned. And then you have a different kind of an uncertainty, which is more economic and completely unpredictable. Look at what the US is doing with the tariffs. Now, when your market becomes uncertainable, or you're not able to have commercial returns, the best policy to do, and which was advocated by none less than the father of the nation, was to look inwards. Atmanirbhar Bharat. I'll speak about that subsequently. But the crux of what I'm trying to mention is while India is growing, you have to factor this uncertainty. Next, please. This is again an illustration of how investments can often run sour because of geopolitical uncertainty. Now, the IMEC, the India Middle East Corridor, substantial investment involving more than 7 nations. The Chabar port was a major investment by IPGL, India Ports Global Limited. Now, with what happened with Israel and Iran and the sanctions, in the US government, the OFAC, which essentially looks at all investments, could well be sanctioning the investments made by any entity into such projects, which are essentially in the country of destination, that is Iran. So there is a sizable sovereign investment done by India as a strategic interest, because this was to counter the investment in Gwadar in Pakistan and give you direct access right up to the European market. But there could be uncertainty again in questioning this kind of investment. Next, please. We've been talking about shipbuilding. Presently, we are somewhere around the 16th globally. Even tonnage wise, I'll be talking about it, just a little over 1%. But what I'm trying to attempt to show here is the 3 nations which are having major shipbuilding, China, South Korea, and Japan. They have cabotage for their own flagged vessels. And look at the cost of capital as shown on the slide. You will realize the cost of capital for upfront investment for a new vessel is sometimes as low as 4.5%, which in realistic terms in India could go as high as 11.5 to 14%. And this also needs long-term dedicated low-cost capital, because ships are strategic assets and they are long-term investments. Next, please. If the Indian economy has to go, the Honorable Prime Minister has sounded out Atmanirbhar Bharat. You saw the simplification of the goods and services tax. And then you saw a very concerted message to the domestic economy, because we are one of the biggest markets. The benefits transferred by a taxation regime acts as a catalytic incentive, contributing to 0.5 to 1% growth in your GDP by generating demand internally, thereby buffering the nation against global uncertainty and challenges that it faces where you do not have control. This is on the same lines as the Swadeshi movement, which the father of the nation had propounded. And at that time, pre-independence, colonial India was economically going nowhere. Next, please. Now, this is the current scenario, and it gives me great pleasure to place before you consistency in the policy firmament. Navik Cell 7, very ably chaired and led by my esteemed colleagues, was working on finance in maritime. All of these under the umbrella of the Maritime India Vision 2030 and the Amritkal Maritime Vision 2047. Today we saw a presentation by Grant and Thornton as knowledge partners for India Maritime Week. This event is also projected as the largest maritime event happening in Asia. Globally, perhaps it rivals all the regular forums that you have like Poseidon, North Shipping, or the Korea Maritime Week, or the London Maritime Week, Singapore Maritime Week. The reckoning that maritime sector is a critical part of the growth is what is being propounded here. And all of you are invited to please be a part of this growth story. Next. I will not spend too much of time on these slides, but if you remember, I said nations which are lead maritime nations have cabotage laws. There is a taxation anomaly which I have been flagging with the ministry, and we need these corrections because Indian tonnage, simply said, an Indian flagged vessel operating in Indian waters would still be commercially at a disadvantage to a foreign flag vessel chartered and operating in Indian waters. That is an anomaly. You need to protect your own flag. And cabotage is a universal maritime rule. So that correction is underway. I'm certain the ministry is taking steps, and there is a lot of substance which has been built up to bring these into the Finance Act and regimes. And now I'll talk about the positives. Next slide, please. Next. Now this is where, previous slide, please. This is where the stimulus is coming. You're looking at shipbuilding finance, and I'll reel it out very quickly because Jaggi sir has already spoken about this. The shipbuilding finance assistance, if you're building a green vessel in India, 30% subsidy upfront for the cost of the vessel. If you're bringing in a vessel to the global topmost destination for breaking it, the ship recycling, India is, after the Hong Kong Convention, going to be globally the leader in ship recycling as per the Hong Kong compliance of the convention. We will be leaving behind Bangladesh, we'll be leaving behind Pakistan, we'll be leaving behind Turkey. Now, when you break a vessel here, 40% of the actual cash transaction for the vessel upfront would be available as a ship building credit note. 40% of that cost goes into credit towards a new build. 30% as subsidy if it's basically of the total cost of the vessel if it's a green build. So technically speaking, 50% of the cost is hived off. Now look at interest subvention. As I mentioned, we are having cost of capital at 11 to 14%. It was mentioned here. This is the first time ships are being notified as infrastructure. So you have 10,000 DWT, which is basically Indian owned, which will be eligible for status of infrastructure, and 1,500 DWT, which basically, if flagged and built in India, would be admissible as infrastructure. Now, there are yards which cannot build the 1,500 GT. There is a sweet spot which is around much lesser than 500 GT today. But when you start with a visionary step, you build the downstream capacities to definitely deliver vessels which would reach 10,000 GT and above indigenously in India by raising the shipbuilding capacity as is envisioned. Next slide, please. There are 4 pillars which the maritime finance is being built on. The first, as I mentioned, was shipbuilding finance assistance. The other is the core and the heart of it, the 25,000 corpus of the Maritime Development Trust. Third is capacity building. The fourth essentially is the legal policy framework. The last session of the Parliament saw the passage of the Indian Ports Act. This was a colonial act. Now we have got true land ownership and autonomy in the port operations. Your model concessionaire agreements. You had the Merchant Shipping Act, which is 1958. That is being notified as a new act. You have a completely separate Coastal Shipping Act, which gives you a very focused niche only on segments that are not foreign going, but still basically need that necessary logistical push to ensure and facilitate the multimodal logistics. All this has happened very, very recently to give the nation an enabling legal framework around which investment can gravitate and ensure that growth and that focus on the maritime domain. Next. I've spoken about this. Next slide, please. Now, as I mentioned, ships as infrastructure, what is the benefit? You have direct finance in terms of foreign direct investment. This is largely because you have infrastructure status. Number two is you can get low cost capital. Number three is you get multiple concessions being in the infrastructure sector. You can blend finance. You can basically tweak it in such a way that you have longer terms, which basically allows for an easier and quicker rate of return. Because please remember, ships are strategic assets. Next. Now, if you're looking at basically not just the building, but also facilitating the commercial environment. So if you're looking at Indian registry, it's a closed registry. As I said, 1% of the global tonnage, nothing substantial. But if you're looking at opportunities at blending elements of an open registry, looking at a dual registry concept, chartering and leasing, spot chartering, and all these happening on same terms as in Singapore or in Dubai, right here in India. What is preventing the strategic location that the nation already has into providing a booming platform which will aggregate majority of the global investment as a priority investment destination? Next. Gift City is an example. 5% on the IGST for an import. So you've got major fleet owners like CMA, CGA. They have registered vessels here. And with the Merchant Shipping Act being enacted afresh, Section 22 is getting a new breath of life. You don't need to only or be limited as an Indian to own a vessel. You can be a JV. Now, if you are a JV, obviously opportunities to own and flag in India become that much more relaxed. You can fund the ownership. You can charter in, charter out, because the dispensation under Section 407 is being taken out. In the new act, you have a Coastal Shipping Act, which is separate, where you prevent foreign flags from basically ruling the roost, in the sense you provide right of first refusal to Indian tonnage, but then you also allow a completely economic reworking of the sector to gravitate investments there. Next, please. This is what I had mentioned, legislative reforms. Next. Now, it was mentioned here that we will need compliant ships because as I speak, in the first week of October concluding, you will have the extraordinary session of the IMO, where under the MEPC, you will finalize the two-tier GFI compliance mechanism. So you would have essentially by 2028, compliant ships, non-compliant ships. And non-compliant ships would have to pay out from their pockets, buy out the remedial units, and cost of operations would be higher. And you will only be commercially viable if your cost of operations are lower. And what you save here then adds on to the value chain and you become globally competitive. So India has no other option but to invest for decarbonization. And other than just the commercial part, there is also a major value statement. Next, please. I will not spend too much of time on the National Green Shipping Roadmap and basically the alternate fuel maritime, which Shri Arun Sharma ji himself had spoken about. And please mark his words. He also did mention nuclear in maritime as basically one of the major critical core at the Z&Z part when you're engaging with decarbonization. I also firmly endorse that. And we need to transition from the defense application, which is already stable, to the commercialization, both for ports and also for basically ships. Next. Now, this is a value case. If you look at the lower part of the slide, India would be generating per unit of energy at the cheapest cost globally. So here we are. Presently, we spend around close to $85 billion in importing our energy requirement in terms of hydrocarbons. 30 years down the line, if we invest now, you would be net green energy surplus and an energy exporting nation. One who has strategic control over energy, has strategic control over growth, has strategic control over self-reliance and on own security requirements. Nothing can be more compelling than this logic. Next, please. Now, this is the conundrum. How do you finance the growth? If you look at this slide, it gives you just a snapshot of the billions of dollars needed prospectively in the next 20 to 30 years. The Maritime India vision talks about close to around several lakh crores to be invested. So also does basically the Amrit Kal vision. The crux here is how do you mobilize that fund? And how do you deploy it effectively to get the best bang for whatever buck is being invested? Next. These are, of course, something Navik Cell 7 has done yeoman service to the nation in looking at and at least ground wetting aspects such as green bonds, blue bonds, public-private partnership, standardization of procedures so that there are lower cost dissipation in terms of procedural aspects, operational efficiencies. And this is where the future lies. I'm grateful to Captain Tyagi sir for his leadership here and for the Navik Cell and all its constituents for having contributed in this exercise. Next. We had a discussion in the morning only on cold ironing, shore to ship. This again is infrastructure which would need soft financing terms. So think about an entity like the Power Finance Corporation funding ports directly, which are given DISCOM status for green renewable energy and providing this with the ship side, having an actual scheme availing retrofits to avail basically green power, not just for foreign going, but also for coastal voyages. Because eventually, as I said, 2028 hence, although the coastal segment is exempt, foreign going vessels would have to be within the tier 1 or tier 2 compliance framework. IMO would advocate that. And India perhaps will vote very strongly because it was India and Singapore's joint paper as the bridging proposal that came through in the MEPC 83. Next. Now, these are again things I will leave it to the finance experts here. And I would only want to highlight this. The India Maritime Week is a primer and a platform for all of you to aggregate. Give your best. I believe opportunity favors the brave. And India is primed to basically take her position among one of the most foremost maritime nations. And each one of us can contribute to the best of our ability. I've been slightly taking time, but I'm thankful for your very kind attention and grateful for this opportunity. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for that inspiring address. Your vision truly lights the way for the future of Indian maritime industry. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways has established Neel Earth Vision Implementation Cells, NAVIC cells, to implement key aspects of Maritime Amrit Kal Vision 2047 and Maritime India Vision 2030. These cells are supported by Viksit Bharat Sankalp cells, Vibhas, with ministry officials that handle the monitoring and coordination. Up next, it is my honor to invite Mrs. J.P. Irene Cynthia, IAS MD, Kamarajar Port Limited, who is the additional nodal officer of Navik Cell 7 and brings with her an impressive career with extensive experience in port sector. Madam, please.
Good morning. Our chief guest, Mr. Shyam Jagannathan, IAS DG Shipping. Chairman IRS, Mr. Arun Sharma. CMD of Shipping Corporation of India Limited. Captain Tyagi. Mr. Jose, Director Finance of Cochin Shipyard, all our uh, partners, I should say, stakeholders from the financial side, bankers, insurance companies, FIs, all other stakeholders who are present here for this roadshow at Mumbai. A very warm welcome. So I will just give a small outline of Navicel 7, which deals with maritime finance, insurance, leasing, ownership, and registration. This committee was formed by MOPSW. It comprises of 13 members, as we can see here, including SCI, Kamarajar Port, Cochin Shipyard, Dredging Corporation, Indian Maritime University. So a lot of institutions, and what we can interestingly see is the dissimilarities in the institution. So the cells that were formed with the purpose of looking at how to increase investments in the maritime sector in this country. To be more specific, the question for today is, how can India mobilize the scale of capital that is needed to build a world-class maritime ecosystem, at the same time ensuring sustainability, inclusivity, and competitiveness? So when you look at this group, you must realize the kind of cross-learning that has been happening. Sometimes policy decisions are taken by a single vertical, and after 6 months, everyone realizes that there is some issue because of this policy in a different setup, in a different department, in a different sector. So to avoid that, to have this kind of cross-learning, NAVIC cells were formed, a lot of contribution had been brought in. Now, out of this, we are going to pick up certain important critical things that have happened in the last 7 to 8 months. Can we have the next slide, please? Yeah. So Kamarajar Port, representing the port sector in this cell, we realize that when you bring in a lot of investments, for example, the Maritime Development Fund is ready with 25,000 crore. And if you are to access that, we should also look inward and see whether our systems are geared up to handle this kind of investment. For that, we looked at some critical areas purely for improving the systems, purely for standardizing the processes, and to look at competitiveness. These were the basic principles which we were looking at. So the first item in the list is insurance framework for major ports. So when we started looking at it, we realized that we are growing as a maritime nation. A lot of financing is expected to pour in, is already pouring in. But what about our risk management systems? How are we going to maneuver those? What happens to the regulatory support? How do we improve our systems to gear up for all these? And the port insurance is also a very, is a very complex system. In the recent past, we know that there are lots of new emerging risks. We are continuously hearing of cybersecurity breaches, our own computers being denied. We are not able to open our own systems and access our own data. Physical damage to our systems, data breaches. Along with this, terrorism threats, supply chain disruptions, sabotage. Also, when the business evolves, we also see that that is another scenario where a lot of challenges are arising. For example, the vessel size is becoming bigger. So the port has to accommodate bigger vessels, larger cargo volumes. Equipments have to be upgraded. We are also looking at whether our equipments are able to withstand the climate change that is happening today. So even there are studies which look at, can our equipment handle this kind of heat? Climate change is again another big item in the list. Sea level rises, unpredicted flooding, unpredicted cyclones, lots of natural disasters. Chennai, for example, in the last 1 month, we've had multiple cloud bursts. So these are all scenarios which are unfolding. And so we have to gear up for the kind of risk management that we need. So with this, we looked at what is the best practice across the globe and what are we following in India. So we did a gap analysis. For example, business interruption cover. I think finance people will be very much acquainted. In India, mostly in the major ports, the cover is for 3 to 6 months, whereas across the globe, it is between 18 to 24 months. Same way, we have this deductibles. So there is any damage, the first payment has to be made by the port. In India, the deductibles are as low as 1 to 2 lakhs, whereas if you look at international ports, it's between $1 lakh to $10 lakh US dollars. So that kind of a huge difference is there between the Indian scenario and what is a global practice. So we realize that a standardization of port coverage, port insurance coverage is required. Even among the major ports, when we compared, there were some ports which didn't have a port insurance package. And they were, handling things with fire insurance cover. So these kind of discrepancies had to be settled first. So under the NavIxel 7, we worked on preparing a standardized document with all the basic covers compulsorily needed, plus additional covers that may be required for the ports. We also looked at additional insurance policies like fidelity guarantee. Now we have the Public Liability Act. So the insurance coverage for that, all these were taken into consideration when we have prepared. We are hoping that this will give better coverage for the major ports. We'll be able to customize their coverage, and individual ports will be able to have, even your credit rating takes into account all these things. So you'll have a better insurance coverage. Apart from this, we also looked at private sector participation. We all know that in major port sector, till date, insurance coverage is provided only by public sector insurance companies. So we are looking at this feasibility of allowing private sector companies. We know that today ICICI Lombard, Tata AIG, Future Generali, all these are companies which have huge potential for underwriting insurance packages. But we are not yet able to utilize them in our sector. So for that, we have looked at what could be possible eligibility criteria, including their gross written premium, their settlement ratios, their solvency margins, all the IRDAI norms. Based on that, we have prepared a report, which we will be submitting to the ministry very soon for adoption in the near future. Now, this is the first thing that we have picked up. The second is common framework for financial accounting and reporting for major ports. This is another interesting scenario where when we actually started, talking to the ports and understanding how their framework was prepared, the basis is the Billy-Moria report. And we realized that many of the ports are still in they receive cash, they account for the transaction. If they don't receive cash, they don't account for it. And lots of discrepancies. Some ports, they include their old pension commitments in the operating expenses. Some ports don't cover their old pension coverage in their operating expenses. So when you sit down to look at the efficiency of a port, you are not able to compare across the major ports. So when we began with this, we partnered with the Indian Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI. We put on our own team. So we prepared a report. The report currently is at the CAG level for discussion. Once it is through with the CAG level, it will be implemented across the major ports. The framework is purely setting out 33 significant accounting policies, including how depreciation will be done, how provisions for doubtful debts will be kept, how investments will be moved from WIP to the capital assets. All the basic things in accounting we have picked up as per the accounting standards, and we have framed it into a framework, including format for balance sheet, format for profit and loss account, all the disclosures that have to be compulsorily made in the accounting books. All these are taken into account. So we are almost at the verge of closing this work. The last one is the financial digital maturity scorecard. When we initiated this, we were not very sure whether we are how we will go about this, because we know that everything has to be digitized. The digital economy is the present and the future. So we said, okay, let's look at ports. Let's say look at four important areas and see whether it is fully digitalized or not. So we looked at revenues, payables, capital projects, and treasury management. These are the four areas that we picked up. So for example, in revenue cycle, though almost all our incomes are received through bank accounts and accounted for through softwares, we realize that there is a lot of manual intervention also. So when you have something which does not come through the NLP portal, we do a manual entry and we account for it. And then when you sit for reconciliation, then the reconciliation is a huge problem. And lots of smiles. So I think people do understand what I'm talking about. And again, when you sit for estate rentals, some ports are calculating them based on their software, fully automatized. And some of us say, okay, this will be 23 rupees per square meters. So we enter 23 rupees and then we account for it. So this kind of, different situations in different ports came about. Then we said, okay, what has to be a mature system? How do we look at a mature system? So we said, okay, we will look at all their functionalities. We will look at their seamless integration across all the departments, whether data is able to flow through peacefully. We will look at nil or minimal manual intervention, total automation, data lifecycle management, enhanced analytics, and decision support system. So based on that, for example, in the revenue cycle, we said that if you're integrated, if your POS is integrated, the port operating system is integrated with the payment gateways end to end, and all your calculations are system based, including your depreciation, including your estate rentals, and everything is in link to your ERP, and you have 100% e-invoices, or maybe at least 99% e-invoices, we said you are a mature system. So based on this kind of categorization, we had Vizag, we had Vivo CPA at Thoothukudi. These two ports came about to be very mature systems relatively as against rest of the major ports. Similarly, we looked at payables. So we said what should be a mature system in a payable scenario. So we again said end-to-end integration, including integration with banks or payment gateways, all procurements either through GEM portal or through CPP, integrated with ERP, payment dues to be triggered automatically. So if I have some payment to be, for example, to be done on September 29th, I should know it beforehand. The department should know it beforehand. Bank transfers automatically with bank integration. So with all this, we saw that JNPA, Kamarajar Port, and Cochin Port, they came out to be relatively mature systems than others. Similar process for capital projects. Capital projects, we realized, is one of those areas which were very weak, which was very weak when we looked at it. So technically, the project should be initiated in the system, approved in the system. When it is getting implemented, the e-measurement book should be in the system. All payments, closure of the project, capitalization of the project, completion certificate, everything should be in the system. But this kind of ideal scenario is not there. Much work has to be done. Again, Vizag port was the only port which kind of, matched with many of these aspects. Treasury management, I think, is the weakest in the port sector. Very few ports had e-bank guarantees. Debt management, cash flow management, there was no dashboard. There was no place where you can actually sit and look at the cash flows. Forget projecting. So these scenarios we had analyzed. Now what we are doing is we are saying, okay, these are all the mature scenarios. And for each and individual port, we are listing out the next steps for the port to take up. With this, we are forwarding all these milestones that the port has to achieve to reach this digital maturity that we are looking at. So these are three critical areas where we had worked in the last 7-8 months, and of which one we have completed, rolled out. One is almost in the level of closing. And the insurance sector, we have completed the report. I think now we will start looking at stakeholder consultation. So again, I thank Navixel and Shipping Corporation for a great opportunity to be able to put forth the work that we have done here. And please feel free to provide your feedback on this, because this is a continuous consultative process that we are looking at. And any feedback from the private sector, we'll be happy to look at it and incorporate it into our systems. Thank you.
We sincerely thank you, ma'am, for sharing valuable insights about the Navig Cell 7 and the great initiatives undertaken by the cell. Up next, we have a presentation on Navig Cell 7 by Sri Shamlendu Das, General Manager, ACI.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm part of Navixel 7, which is formed by MOPSW to examine and extant rules and regulations and suggest changes to enable low-cost financing to the maritime industries. In this context, I will be presenting our observations and recommendations as part of Navixel, what we have done to improve the low-cost financing for the industry. During the course of presentation, I would be detailing some of the aspects of technicalities of the maritime financing. As we all are aware that Maritime Amritkal Vision Document MAKV 2047 is the roadmap for the economy. The maritime industry, that is shipping, port and logistics, and shipbuilding, requires about 1 trillion of funds by 2047. The humongous amount of capital cannot be funded by only banking channels. So banks, NBFCs, AMCs, AIFs, private equities, and corporates have to come together for the nation building objectives. The industries, though, are highly capital intensive, but of course would be a highest employment generating and GDP contributing sectors for the economy. As we have seen in public news, recent projects cleared by government of Tamil Nadu would create about 55,000 employment through the investment outlay of about 30,000 crores. It is to emphasize that no industry can create so many counts of employments. A standard petrochemical refinery complex requires a capital capex of about 35 to 40,000 crores, which I have experienced during my association with ONGC, and generates hardly 2,000 direct employments and nominal GDP additions. But this industry, maritime, does manifold. During the course of presentation, I would mention about various stakeholders which the SAIL have identified for growth of the maritime industries and low-cost financing. So I'm going to the presentation. This industry is basically named as a cyclical industries by most of the analysts in banking and capital market industries. But unfortunately, this is a wrong nomenclature that they have identified because it serves all the industries. So it can never be a cyclical industry. Because when all are doing bad, it is serving them, so it cannot be a bad. So it is mostly a risk hedged industry. And I should say, we can see shipping industries across globe are running profitable. So Indian economy and Indian finance system should look at this industry in a positive note and consider extending maximum support to the industry for growth of the economy. And the next is the valuation of the asset is based on the charters. We have seen that when the charter price is up, the asset price goes up. So the concern of people who are doing analysis and bankers or capital market analysts, they see there will be a downturn, and that time your cost, your asset cost will go down. So we are at risk on finding and financing this kind of asset. But this is not the case. In my experience with the industry, I have seen when the charter is low, the break-even point for the cost of assets are also low, and the charter is high, the break-even point is maintained, and the profitability is always maintained for the industry. Now, since this is a capital-intensive industry, it requires delineation of ownership and operation. If for this we need to understand how the delineation can happen. This can happen only through sale and leaseback. Sale and leaseback is DGC. Sale and leaseback is a product which is not age of date popular in India because of some regulatory concerns. So for this, to make this product a profitable or such a usable product in India, there are intervention or there are support required from Director General of Shipping so that people can use or can hire assets on long-term leasing basis. And lenders can only extend support to shipping assets on long-term lease when there is a long-term lease allowed by the regulators. Further, there are other regulatory concerns like ESG and GHG norms, which are also causing high cost for the shipping industry. Not going to next slide. Ship leasing is the option where shipping companies can grow with a credit light model. So a credit light model can always be can only be successful when the regulatory supports are there. I have interacted with largest bank, that is ICBC team, who are holding about 7 trillion size of 7 trillion USD of capital in their balance sheet. They are holding also the largest number of fleet through leasing. But they are not interested for business in India because they are of the view that companies in India are not allowed for long-term lease. So once we are required or we intend to allow the credit light model for shipping industry, we have to extend the long-term leasing for owners to acquire asset on long-term lease. Now that we have got the maritime funds and the Of course, we'll decide this. There will be operators who will own this, and they will generate funds. So even the $1 trillion, that is about 90 lakh crore, will not be difficult or challenging task for the economy to mobilize over 2047 over the period. We have examined various legislations of PFRDA, uh, IRDA, and Ministry of Finance and DIPAM, so that funds from corporates and trust and insurance companies can flow to maritime industries. And we have also in the Navig cell, we have also examined SEBI regulations and regulations of RBI, so that the funds can flow to the maritime industries. We have suggested some of the improvements required to MOPSW, which will take its course for coming into place. This is the slide where we can see how all the countries who are leading in shipbuilding have been supported by banks and corporates, banks and large corporates. If we look at Korea, there is KWB, Kevhana, National Finance Scheme of Korea, and Finance Services Commission. All of them have supported to the shipbuilding industry there. Similar support is required, and for which Navig Cell has recommended regulatory changes which will enable funds flowing from all these sectors to maritime industries. This is the estimate where we say about 80 lakh crore, that is $1 trillion, about the investments required. And it is required not only to curb the capex, but to curb the opex also. Because as of date, we are spending out $75 billion on ocean freight, and it is estimated that about 500 billion will be the ocean freight by 2047. So we need to have our own logistic system to curb our dilution of our currency. Further, the strategic need is, like we have seen during the presentation of DG sir, there is essential requirement to have ourselves and Atmanirbhar Bharat. And the economic impact is immense if we develop our own shipping system inside. The major new evolving aspect for Indian shipping industry is ESG compliance. Of course, we have started BRSR reporting, but we have not done anything significant on ESG for our ships. And we have interacted with foreign shipping lines. We have seen that they are spending heavily on capex during dry docking for improvement to reduce pollution and improve efficiency in the ships they are operating. And probably over a period of time, SEBI also will make this ESG a mandatory norms, and all the companies will be required to have ESG as a rating requirement. So we'll hear this from our panelist, KRAS, on the ESG front. Some of the major achievements of Navikshell has already been described by CMDSCI and DGS, that Maritime Development Fund. It is always eye-catching, and I have come across inquiries from uh, Korea, Japan, and Singapore. They are many high. They are now interested for opening up shipyards here, and they are looking and they are discussing what are the incentives and how it's going to how soon are they can come to India for setting up their ventures in India. And all these achievements that's Navikshell has really contributed and the ministry is taking up for the industry will definitely prove result for this at a shorter time. Now that we have seen so much of commitment from government side towards shipbuilding initiatives, we would require extra export credit agencies like we have seen Cashier for Korea, Rillerhams for Germany, and Exim, Sinusar China, and all these export agencies are doing for them. We need our export agencies, Exim and ECGC, to launch their schemes, and we have been interacting with them. In fact, yesterday also I spoke to one of the general manager in ECGC, and I invited him to visit us, and I will update him how and how they should promote, what kind of schemes they should bring to promote our shipbuilding, and so that exports of ships can happen from India. Considering the huge fund, the banks are asked to undertake asset-based financing, which is now not seen from the Indian banking system. Mostly, they are looking for additional collateral, which is a blockade for growth of the shipping industry. Now, capital market industries are also required to launch maritime industry focused schemes. This is the government of India incentives and policies for the maritime industries. Shipping companies, along with Asian and BRICS shipping lines, are required to come together and set up Indian P&I clubs. Maybe for some category of vessels to start with, as has been done by Japan, Korea, Korean P&I clubs. Further, shipping and shipbuilding companies are required to diversify their trade currencies from USD, because we have been dealing with all these countries, but we are invoicing only in USD, and the weakening of INR is causing a damage to the shipping industry as well. So I urge the shipping industry fraternity here to start billing in other currencies so that we can reduce our cost of funds as well through funding from different countries. Indian rating agencies has major role in raising a finance from capital market and banks as well. Recently, RBI has allowed about 30 countries to open special escrow account for international trade settlement in Indian rupees, and we should bill or we should have our receivables in different countries, and shipping in, and the rating agencies are also required to have agreement with rating agencies of other countries where this special escrow has been allowed by RBI. So these all initiatives are further required and further worked upon by Navikshell, which will ensure the low-cost funding for the industry. Now, I am thankful to DGS for proactive positive regulatory changes for the industry, and such initiatives would reciprocate with more industry players, which will strengthen the maritime industry. I am thankful to IFSCA team to launching the ship leasing framework and best possible financial inclusion in the economy, and for which the tonnage augmentation has happened at the shortest possible time. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Now comes the another major part of the function, the panel discussion on our central theme, financing the future of maritime India. As we prepare for the panel discussion, may I request our dignitaries to please be seated in the front row so that we can prepare the stage for the panelists. We are honored to have with us a galaxy of maritime leaders and experts. I'll share a brief about them. First is Mr. Ashok Sharma, Deputy MD, Chief Credit Officer and Chief Sustainability Officer, State Bank of India. Mr. Sharma brings over 34 years of banking experience and a deep understanding of credit and ESG policy frameworks. He will provide valuable insights today on sustainable financing and policy level initiatives shaping the future of India's financial and maritime sector. Then we have with us Mr. Savraj Mehta, Chief Commercial Officer, North Standard. He's a master mariner with over 12 years of sea experience and extensive experience in global marine underwriting. He brings unparalleled expertise in shipping operations and risk management. He will share valuable insights on international maritime practices and strategies with a special focus on P&I clubs that drive growth and excellence in the shipping industry. Then we have Mr. Ashutosh Sharma, CGM IFSCA, with over 20 years of experience and as a founding member of IFSCA. He will share how IFSCA's initiatives has been shaping India's maritime financing and positioning the country as a global shipping hub. Then we have Mr. Amit Gupta, President and National Head, Wholesale and Distribution Alliance, SBI Mutual Fund. With over 20 years of experience in the mutual fund industry, he brings a wealth of expertise that will provide valuable insights to the audience on financing the maritime of the future of maritime India. And then we have Mr. Saikat Roy, CEO, Care Edge ESG Rating, with over 24 years of leadership in financial services and corporate finance. Mr. Saikat Roy brings deep expertise in strategic growth, client engagement, and infrastructure finance. He will provide valuable insights on leveraging financial strategies to drive sustainable development and growth in the maritime sector. And steering the ship of ideas, we have our moderator, Ms. Kavita Satvi, General Manager, cum CFO, Kamarajar Port Limited, who has around 2 decades of experience in senior leadership roles. Her expertise in finance and strategic management will ensure a lively and insightful discussion for all participants. Hope this promises to be as lively as the stock market at 9:15, but with fewer shocks. So may I request the dignitaries, the panelists, members to please grace the dais. Mr. Amit Gupta, Mr. Saikat Roy, Mr. Ashutosh Sharma, Mr. Savraj Mehta, Mr. Ashok Sharma, and Ms. Kavita Sadhvi, madam. To begin with the panel discussion, I'll hand over the stage to our moderator, Ms. Kavita Sadhvi, madam. Please.
Good morning, all. The stock exchange is still running. So it was a good, I think, coincidence that we are very near to the stock market and the veterans of the finance industry are here. I welcome them all. I will be talking less and asking questions more because I think we have started with the theme of sustainability, inclusivity, and competitiveness. Also, in the backdrop, we have already explained the need for the capital that we require in the port industry. See, MIB Vision asking for 3.5 lakh crores of rupees to be invested in the port sector. So, I will start with Mr. Ashok Kumar Sharma asking about what he faces as challenges in financing the maritime sector, because now we are looking at inclusivity also, we are looking at sustainability also, and typically infrastructure projects, shipping projects being very capital intensive. What kind of challenges he thinks that we will face when we go for such a huge capital investment requirement, and what are, as banker, they have anticipated could be the mitigation strategies?
Thanks a lot, madam. Thanks Shipping Corporation for having me here. थोड़ा आउट ऑफ सिलेबस जाने का परमिशन है? ओके. मुझे नहीं मालूम शिपिंग कॉर्पोरेशन पहले बना कि स्टेट बैंक पहले बना. It can't be as close as much. So we are very close to shipping corporation. We are very close to the maritime needs of the maritime industry. Let me give some color before I come to the questions, if you allow me. There was a talk in the previous delegates that we are able to get the funding at 4.5 or 5% in dollars, but रुपया में 11 से 14 के आसपास मिलता है. I am a consumer. Let me just narrate a small story. So I go to the petrol pump, buy in rupee. The tanker which comes to the petrol pump pays in rupee. The freight that brings crude to the Indian shore, sometimes dollar linked rupee, sometimes dollar. The ship which carries the freight largely in dollar. Now using this rupee piece, I am paying the dollar shipbuilding, I am paying the dollar freight. I was just looking at some number. During 2015, rupee was 66, 67, अभी 88 है. 20 रुपया ये पे करता हूँ, उसके ऊपर ना जीरो भी पे करूँ. So 20 रुपया ये पे करता हूँ, उसके ऊपर जीरो भी रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट पे करूँ तो कॉस्ट कितनी है आप समझ लें. See, for the Atmanirbhar Bharat, fundamental understanding we need to develop that we need to get the debt in rupees. The foreign currency debt is not going to help this country to take to the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Do we have enough money in the country? Let me give some numbers. We measure the total borrowing by the Indian banking system with all India scheduled commercial bank borrowing 185 lakh crore. 2010 में ये फिगर 31 लाख करोड़ था. सो आप देख लें 5 गुना बढ़ गया. इसके अलावा और भी प्लेयर्स हैं, एनबीएफसी हैं, देन बॉन्ड मार्केट है. टोटल पे आपको ज़्यादा तंग नहीं करना जोड़ने से. सो 278 लाख करोड़ के आसपास नंबर है. नाउ आउट ऑफ दिस 278 लाख करोड़ इज द स्टॉक. व्हाट इज द फ्लो? फ्लो ड्यूरिंग 23-24, लेटेस्ट नंबर अभी आरबीआई ने निकाला नहीं है, जो 35 लाख करोड़. During single year, flow was 35 lakh crore. And how much of this 35 lakh crore is the foreign money? How much is the Indian money? Foreign money was only 2 lakh crore. The balance is entirely Indian money. And how the flow is moving? I was trying to look at data from 2010 onwards again. 2 से 4 लाख करोड़ ही रहता है. Bulk of the money is Indian money. Look at this 278 lakh crore of this stock. Look at the 35 lakh crore of the flow. Is a little older number. Please also understand our formalization of economy is 60% only. So with the formalization being only 60%, we are having these numbers. So I hope a lot of government schemes would help. UPI is already helping to formalize the economy so that we are able to have more money in the system and able to offer more. What is the capacity of funding? There's a question, I come back to the question. At a given point in time, लगभग एसबीआई जैसे बैंक के पास 4 to 5 लाख करोड़ होता है वो मनी जो पता नहीं कहाँ डिप्लॉय करें, which we call the liquid money. So availability of money has never been a challenge. Now one more piece I'll try to give you. When you compare the rate of interest, typically as we compare, when we borrow, because we also run a large foreign book, we borrow $5 billion plus every year. We pay roughly SOFR plus 1%, SOFR is 4.5 plus 1, 5.5. And if you were to borrow 10-year money, we all understand it will be 67% of hedging cost. So 67% plus 5.5, 12.5. Most of the shipping industry, my understanding is that it is 10% or below, not higher than 10%. So there is enough money. There is a cost-effective money, and there is a green money available. So I think we are able to tick all the boxes. What is needed is the issues around the policy so that our shipbuilders, our other players in the maritime industry, they are able to do whatever they intend to do without the hassles of the policy issues. So I think for this question, I stop here, then we take it further.
Sir, that was also one of my question, that what policy reforms you expect from the government, because you are saying the funds are available, but I don't know whether the operators or the investors, they do not know about this. What are the policy hurdles you feel?
So I think, see, wherever my job involves going to Niti Aayog particularly and to other ministries and explaining to them that please have the stakeholder consultation regarding the issues on the concession agreements and many other places. So if we are able to facilitate the doing business easily, then see, debt market in any country, if you look at the debt has never been a challenge. So equity has been a challenge. So how can we facilitate easy movement of equity across the border? A lot of things have already been done. I am not very familiar with what exactly the issue around the shipping industry and the equity flow. But see, look at the, for example, if I give example from other sectors, airport. So you have the Bangalore airport, the Canadian entities are holding it. You have the Jewar, the Noida upcoming airport where the Zurich airport is holding it. So as and when the flow of equity is made easier, the debt would follow. Availability of debt has never been a challenge. It would always be available.
Thank you, sir. My next question is to Mr. Amit Gupta. Again, I think mutual fund investments, retail as well as financial institutional funds flowing. What do you see the role that mutual fund can play in maritime financing?
So thank you for having me here. I believe, given the importance of maritime industry, asset managers, I won't restrict only to mutual fund, can play a very, very critical role. We also have to understand the criticality of maritime industry into any nation's prosperity. And when Honorable PM has given a thought of being developed nation by 2047, it is extremely important that all our cargo, which is going on foreign flags, have to be brought internally. And just to share some data, last year, and which is what Honorable PM mentioned, $75 billion kind of a tariff or rent or charges we have paid for bringing our goods in our country or maybe exporting outside. For a vast nation like ours, if we have a foreign owner, the ship ownership at 1.5% or shipbuilding capacity at fraction, I believe there is a lot and enough to be done. It's a high time when all the policy decisions have been taken, a rightful decision has been on the Maritime Development Fund with 70,000 crore kind of a commitment. Now, when you look at other, infrastructure, companies or funding, authorities, they are coming with lot many structures. They are coming with InvITs, they are coming with commercial papers, they are coming with NCDs and all. And from asset management side, we keep on looking at such quality issuances. So it is up to the industry to come with such structures, really more than happy. And just to give you a perspective, when we speak about InvIT, something like NHAI and all is coming big time into InvIT, Power Grid Corporation and all. And within no time, the InvIT industry is $80 billion. Now at 90 rupees, if we take, somewhere here and there, it is 7 lakh crore kind of an industry within no time, which has become. And large subscribers are your asset managers. Now, when we speak about asset management, we are managing money for the PF Trust, EPFOs of the world, our own SBI pension and gratuity. And by virtue of that, we are looking for long-term investing, good quality papers. And whenever you see all these infrastructure development funds or companies coming in like NAFED, IFC and all, we are the major subscriber. So it's a high time the Maritime Fund should come with such a structure, which can in turn help all the, the shipping industry we are very much ready to be partnering on that. Another point which Sharma ji mentioned and which is very, very important, for us to participate in equity, we need a certain ring fencing on the safety of the funds. So in terms of concession agreements and all, I believe something has to be worked out. And we have seen a major change happening on the road infra and all, and where a lot many investors are coming. Maybe on those lines, if something can come on the shipping side, I believe there is a long runway for domestic financing, and there is no reason why we should be in fraction rather than what percentage ideally as a country we should have.
It was a good insight because I think one of the issue that was mentioned in the concept paper was the development of the investment infrastructure trust. And on your point of concession agreements, uh, ministry has been continuously working on improving the concession agreements. I know where it comes from, where you have a lot of disputes arising out of the concession agreements. I think where the financiers, bankers, they don't feel very comfortable providing this long-term finance to the infrastructure companies or the triple P operators. But just shifting the view slightly from the financing, I also like to ask Amit that, because of this increased focus on the sustainability, whether you have come up with any thematic funds which will actually encourage the concept of green in the maritime sector.
So, not as of now, while globally, when we look at the ESG focused fund, the size could be around $40 trillion. That is roughly the size which is there globally. And when we speak about India, it is hardly $1 billion and thereabouts. Having said that, there is increased awareness towards impact investing, ESG investing, and all. Um, Frankly, in India, as of now, most of the investors are not differentiating between impact investing and normal investing, though we are gravitating towards the impact part. And to that extent, all our investments are being screened through the ESG metrics. Having said that, when we speak about foreign investors, mostly from Europe, they take ESG very, very closely, and on the impact investing part, they are ready to forego a certain coupon, including our JV partner Amundi, have been a large investor on the impact investing part. So my suggestion at this point of time is that if we are looking for issuing any green bond, or there will be a lot and enough takers from the foreign shores. As an asset manager, as a bank, we can always assist the issuing authority in terms of coming with a bond. There will be appetite. Domestically, it will take a little while, but yeah, in the international market, more so in Europe, there is a big demand for impact investing as well as ESG investing.
Thank you, Amit. My next question is to Ashutosh Sharma, CGM IFS CA. Again, linking from the ESG part, which Amit had just elaborated, again, as a part of Gift City, where we are collaborating with many foreign companies and also banks, looking at charter financing, vessel leasing. Is there any specific initiative that we have taken in IFSCA, Gift City, for promoting ESG?
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible? Okay. No, thanks for the question. But before I come to this question, I'm telling you what I was, my previous speaker has spoken. It's like music to my ears. I think for last 4 or 5 years, I've been knocking on the doors of the banks and alternate investors to give money to the shipping sector, which they're looking for. What I'm hearing from SBI and SB Mutual Fund is they're open for the business, maybe ready to cut the checks. See, I think the point that Mr. Sharma mentioned, and it's about there's enough liquidity. What I'm hearing from Department of Revenue and also from the CMDs of most of the banks, they're telling me that in India, banks are facing a challenge in terms of asset and liabilities. Right now, there's too many areas where funds have to be deployed, and the markets are replacing the deposits, due to which banks do not have the enough funds. And also banks are vacating the long-term financing space. So effectively, in my view, there is a huge gap and a lot of work has to be done by the banks in this space. And also the way the financing is done in shipping space, it is, I'll come to the foreign banks. It's like, it's a very, very specialized industry, right? You need those kind of capabilities there. And I think that apart from one or two, maybe largely in Indian banking ecosystem, I find that the capability is not there right now in terms of asset financing. Most of the lending that banks are doing is only balance sheet lending, which is a lending to a corporate. The lending to a corporate is not a ship financing. And we as a country are not going to go anywhere if we go by balance sheet financing, because if you look, shipping as an industry globally, it's a family industry. It's run by few families globally. In India also, you see, apart from few corporates, the SA certainly is a corporate we have established, but otherwise most are individually family owned corporates, right? And they are family financing. And if they go for lending and banks are not supporting them, then what are the avenues for them? Avenues for them is either go outside India for the borrowing or the knock on the doors of capital markets. And India capital market, if you see on the bond side, is extremely underdeveloped, especially when you look at such kind of asset classes. A lot of work need to be done in these both the spaces. And when it comes to capital market mutual funds, I don't see any fund right now which is working in the space of ships or maritime. And I'm telling you my experience when I'm reaching out to global investor and asking them to come and invest into India. I was trying to do a structuring with the Indian Sovereign Fund, where we are trying to get the global investors. No global investor will like to invest in a thematic fund in a particular emerging economy. Typically, the global investors look at an emerging economy fund, but they will not look at a thematic specific fund in a global in emerging economy. It's very difficult structure for if we are trying to achieve that. A deep work is required there. We are working. I think MDF is a fantastic initiative here because we are we met a fund in London market, and that investor, they wanted to place an order into Indian shipyards, and the shipyards, they are not comfortable with shipyards credit. And now the MDF comes into picture, which can provide them a credit guarantee structures. Now that is a structure that can be very forceful. So it's a combination of alternate investments, banks, and this need to come into picture. Coming into sustainable, the way we have worked on gift FSA in terms of sustainable, for people who are not aware of gift FSA right now, it's a different jurisdiction in India, financial jurisdiction in India. And the reason why we are bringing out gift FSC is exactly some of the point that DG sir has mentioned, that the kind of capital India needs in the shipping industry. But if you think of India, and again, the point that you mentioned, Sharma ji, is that capital is there. But if you look at India's 2047 goals, the kind of capital that India needs, India's deficit up to the level of more than 10, 11 trillion dollars if we want to achieve that goal. That kind of capital is what India needs. And if you do the reverse calculation on that capital, the investment that India need on annual basis will run into $700 billion annually. And if you look at current India's number on FDI, it's around 70, $80 billion hovering around. It's a peak number. So that's kind of capital deficiency that we have. So we need the efficient layer on regulations and taxation through which foreign capital can participate into Indian jurisdiction. That's why GIFT FSC has been put into place. We have got around 35, not 36 banks here. Around 18, 19 banks are there. We have more than 200 funds which are established there. In terms of ESG, we are the first regulator, I don't know globally, but I can say maybe in some manner, we have mandated that our banks, any incremental loan that the banks give, 5% has to be sustainable. Every bank has to do it, and they are doing it for last few years already. In terms of capital market, we have brought out our frameworks where the sustainable borrowing bonds can be raised. We have around $65 billion of bonds listed on FSC exchanges. Around 30% of these bonds are sustainable bonds. Even alternate funds which are coming into GIFT FSC, those funds also, we have asked them that if you are going beyond a particular level, that is $3 billion, they need to have ESG framework mandated there. So yes, a lot of work is happening in the ESG space in GIFT FSC. Thanks.
Thank you. I think with the establishment of Maritime Development Fund, then the Sagarmala NBFC and many other initiatives, but what is required is a collaborative effort from all the institutions so that there is no dearth of capital. My next question is to Mr. Saket Roy, the credit rating agency CARE. One is, how again all this ESG-linked incentives, decarbonization numbers, emission-linked financing, uh, all of this, how it is affecting the credit rating for maritime industry is one. And also how inclusive we are getting, because I think we need two levels of financing. One is the huge capital infrastructure projects where you have mega ports, etc., etc. Then you have a middle level tier 2 financing where you need actually to include waterways, coastal shipping, some small players also who are a part of the integrated chain of this entire operations process.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks to Shipping Corporation, ASSOCHAM for having us all here and arranging this India Maritime Week. We found two very, very different perspectives from the two Mr. Sharmas we have on the panel. Coming to your question, madam, let me try and bridge the gap. What the two Mr. Sharmas said. It is being said that financing is a part of the solution for the maritime industry. I don't think so. I think it is the only solution. You have to first fix that. And the models of that exist within the country. We don't need to look outside because we are a democracy. We are not China. We can't point to a piece of land and on Monday and say, "Yahan port banega," and Friday you start. Land is a state subject in India. We have our own processes. We will have to do something which fits our model. Now, the question is, we will have to let bankers and financial institutions be bankers and financial institutions. We saw, so let's little bit step back and allow me, indulge me, look at history. 2007, 8, 9, we saw India picking up on shipyard financing and we saw a spate of them. And then we know what happened when we came to 2013, 14. Bankers and financiers, it is their responsibility and their job to be cautious because they have public deposits. We have something in India called the renewable energy sector. Now, what has happened to the renewable energy sector? Renewable energy sector supplies utility scale power to the discoms. We know what was the state of finances of the discom. There has been a lot of reforms to come over here. And what has created this huge, we talked about, Amit talked about InvITs. There are a lot of sort of restricted structures and asset platforms which have large funding of these things. Now, what is the core of this? The core of this exuberance in the renewable sector is an enterprise and authority like SECI, Solar Energy Corporation of India, which provides a sort of a payment guarantee mechanism. And that has completely changed the complexion of funding. It has changed the complexion of the risk which is associated. It has changed the complexion, the ratings have risen, and wherein it makes all the financial institutions very, very comfortable to lend. So I think we will have to address the key risks. I think a huge beginning has been made. Sagarmala Development Corporation is now a finance corporation. They've got NBFC license. So we have huge hope of getting there. This is actually existential for us. DG sir is here, Captain sir is here. We did a small back of the envelope calculation. And we said, okay, let's look at approximately 5,000 GT ship. You work around per annum, what could be the annual cost in terms of fuel, fossil fuel. So if the number is X, and if you do green ammonia, on sir's PPT, we could see, sir, very respectfully, you put 1.5 to $2. We are far, far better than all that. On the fertilizer sector, Paradip Phosphate reverse bidding has happened. It's 55.75 kg per ton as of today. So that's about $640 per million tons. The previous best was about 1100 in Egypt. So we are far, far better in cost competitiveness. I think it was very heartening to hear from both the financial institutions that there is a lot of money there. I think on the credit metrics piece, to get this equation right, data transparency, robust data. There is a Swachh Sagar portal where we get emission data, and like a rating agency for us, we have been trying to get emission data to facilitate how to structure some of these finances where the shipping corporations, where the ports can benefit. I think a payment guarantee mechanism entity like SECI for shipping will be of help. I think if we can get into structures where we have co-lending in the domestic space, there is a partial guarantee mechanism. Now, in large ships are part of infra. So you have an IIFCL, you have a NAPFID who could come in and provide partial guarantees. So instead of going from the route of vanilla lending, if we go from the route of structured lending, vessel specific lending with a payment guarantee mechanism, I think the complexion of the money will change, especially in a scenario when both the large financiers are saying there is no dearth of money. I'll just take a pause there.
Thank you, Sekhar. Hello. Talking of, yeah.
Allow me to say a couple of things. I think we all bring different experiences. No, so it's no question of one disputing the another one. So a couple of issues on the asset liability. That is the typical talk that how the Indian banks can fund 30 years. The banks are governed by the Basel norms. Whether you reside in US, India, it's same. On the contrary, Indian consumers save a lot. So you have better fixed deposits, better what you call the savings and current account deposits in India. If I give one simple example, so when as a young person anyone walks into the bank branch for a home loan, so it is a 25-year, bank is happy to give a 30-year loan. So, and this home loan portfolio for SBI is little over 8 lakh crore. So if we are roughly 20%, so we multiply by 5, so 40 lakh crore of the home loan portfolio out of 185 lakh crore. So that means ALM is not coming in the way. What is coming in the way is the right risk. We need to, as Sekhar was mentioning, we need to balance it out how the risk becomes acceptable. So primarily, if the revenue stability increases, so we need to understand how do we increase the revenue stability. As we have seen the SECI case, we can probably then do this. Second piece that I wanted to bring in on the table, see renewable energy, for example, roughly is, let us say it is 200 gigawatt, 200 now 234, 235, there's a number. So for 200 gigawatt, you require investment of 10 lakh crores, 200 into 5, 75, 25 debt equity, 7.5 lakh crore. This 7.5 lakh crore has been funded by the Indian banks. So there's an example, and it's a 20-year money. So I think, see again, as I was giving earlier example, debt borrowing from above can be for shorter term. You can borrow for 5 years, 7 years. You cannot borrow 30-year money overseas. It's not going to work. It does not work for any country. So it's not going to work here. Regarding the bank's ability to fund asset versus the balance sheet, banks are comfortable. For example, if you look at this renewable energy, it is nothing but a asset only. Asset with a stable cash flow. Airport is an asset with a stable cash flow. Road is an asset with a stable cash flow. So banks have this ability. One more piece I can explain. See, do we have the overseas experiences in India as we do? I was posted in Singapore from 6 to 10. I was happily doing shipping there. No issue. And every year, State Bank of India sends roughly 300, 200 people abroad. So if you assume that 30 years into 300, these guys are sitting around all of you. So 9,000 to 10,000 people with overseas experience in SBI alone are there. So experience is not an issue. I think we need to resolve the issues as Mr. Shekhar was mentioning, I was mentioning, other colleagues are mentioning. Wherever policy bottlenecks are there, how do the equity investments flows easily? If that issue is taken care of, that would, in my sense, would be available. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was really very insightful.
Like I talk a little bit.
Yeah. So since we are talking about risk, I'll now come to P&I insurance aspect of it, where we spoke about insurance. Our MD madam, she explained about insurance, but it is a very critical factor and much more broader significance in the maritime sector. So, sir, would like to know, as a insurance P&I club, how do you see the future? Any learnings which you want to share with the India maritime sector and the mitigation factors also?
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Dear future masters and chief engineers, we are talking about future here today, and no better way to address the cadets. That is what the country is heading towards. You are the future masters, chief engineers, and remember one thing: you are beyond that. As Michelangelo said, it's not. It's not that we aim too high and we miss it. We aim too low and we achieve it. On that note, coming to this auditorium is always a nostalgia, a positive feeling. For decades, I've been coming here, and it brings back old memories and old friends. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak and to speak, because nobody wants to listen to an insurance person. When I sit on a flight and I introduce myself, I'm from the insurance industry, I have a peaceful night's sleep because he's not ready to speak, to engage with me. Yeah, it's very interesting. Last week I was with Mr. Arun Sharma, and in London Shipping Week, and we were talking about the nuclear fuel. We were sharing the same panel, or I was invited by him on the panel, and it was very interesting. And today somebody asked me, you've been living in UK, London for many years. Is there any plan to come back? And my response was, you come back if you have left the country. I've always been here. I've worked with the Indian shipping companies for over 3 decades. And now coming to the point, we have a very interesting, first of all, P&I clubs, protection and indemnity clubs is beyond insurance. It's not just mere selling insurance. It is a complex structure of providing at cost insurance in partnership with stakeholders. When we talk about this particular structure, it gives us the ticket to trade, to the ship owners to trade with confidence. We work as business partners. We look at industry issues, whether they are geopolitics or geoeconomics, sanctions, sustainability, alternative fuels. Basically, in short, the complex and a very interesting reinsurance structure, which is the first 10 million shared by each club, 10 million to 100 club, which is pooled, and then a collective buying of reinsurance, which does happen. So we basically have an arrangement across the world where we can give a letter of undertaking, which is as good as a bank guarantee for the ships to sail. As the Kavitaji very elegantly mentioned about what are the lessons and what are we doing, how are we engaging, my personal thanks go to the Director General of Shipping, Mr. Jagannathan, who along with his team, Harinder is here, Captain Azad, Anish is not here, with open arms, welcomed discussions and interacting in the last 2 years with the international group of P&I clubs, trying to understand where or what we are looking at. Last month, we signed a non-binding memorandum of understanding to have or facilitate the knowledge transfer to associate with each other on handling major casualties and all. So thank you very much, Mr. Jagannathan, for having such an open mind. Now, over 90% of the world fleet is entered with international group clubs. And it's not about anybody else sitting in the room making the decision. It is the ship owner. These 90% of the world ship owners, right from Angel Cruises to Shipping Corporation, India to Great Eastern to you name it, what do they want? What is their requirement? What gives them peaceful sleep at night? That is the question. That is the elephant in the room. It is not about what we can do or what we should have or what. Everything that changes is not for the betterment. If we want a change, are we able to promise on equivalent terms at the very least or for better? So as we progress, and if I'm given a chance again to say a few words in the end, we'll probably say, but that's where I'm coming from. Thank you.
One more question to Mr. Ashutosh is on the, again, charter financing, leasing, vessel leasing models. Any further or initiatives or, improvements which we are trying to do it in IFSCA? Because I think that is a major part which even Shipping Corporation of India has been mentioning, and all the ship owning companies will really like to hear it from you.
Sure. Yeah. I think we came out with ship leasing framework around 4 years back. Since then, we have got more than 30 ship leasing companies now, and they have leased more than 18 ships. And some of these ships have been financed by banks in GIFT FSC, around $70 million. And both big, small, large firms have set up there. The likes of CMA CGM, now Maersk is establishing there, and also SCI and GE. So global names. I think what interesting thing is happening is that GIFT is leading to structures which were not thinkable earlier. So many Indian entrepreneurs who were not sure that such solution can exist of sale and lease back, of owning the ship with financing structure through leasing structure. Those structures are right now happening in GIFT FSC. While we have enabled this and we continue to engage with the industry, the way you have set up a Navig cell, we have also set up a shipping committee, again headed by MD sir, and he's chairing that committee there. And we are continuously engaging that what further need to be done. What we did so far, apart from the regulation, we looked at the taxation. And in the taxation, we have made it very competitive. No GST, no tax. And when you take loan from outside, no withholding tax. So it has become very, very competitive. We have allowed that even if you sell the ship, there is no capital gain tax on that as well. So it becomes extremely competitive. It also makes the security structure very, very strong. We are working at the next level of reforms. We are looking, there's very interesting concepts that happen offshore is called bankruptcy remote structures, through which the financiers are able to hedge the operation risk on the asset. We are working on those structures right now. These are called orphan SPV or bankruptcy remote structure. We are working on those structures. And various other initiatives are work in progress with the Commerce Department also, so that ease of business can happen. A lot of initiatives are happening on ease of doing business. I think DGs are also mentioned that registration will become online, which will become faster. We are also working on a lot of initiative now. If a company has to establish an FSC, we have gone to MCA. They have come out with a new SOP, so that the companies can be incorporated into FSC within 4 to 5 days. It's a very accelerated path we are taking there. Thanks.
One of the aspect which is not touched upon so far is again because we also want that the equity should come, the foreign investor should come, is again the capacity building, not in only terms of the infrastructure, but the human capital. So again, there are some universities, IMW is there, and I think Shipping Corporation of India also has a very nice training center in Bowie. But again, from the financial institution side, how do you see that you will be financing those training institutes and help in building the human capital? What kind of products or structuring? It's an open question. Anyone would like to answer?
I just have one example similar to this. We are setting up a center of excellence in Mumbai, which would handle the niche areas, semiconductors, green hydrogen, battery storage. This center of excellence would also help facilitate the policymakers to the other industry holders. And this kind of support for the capability centers, I think it is easily available. Only thing we need to set up, how do you make them self-sustainable? So how much revenue they would be able to generate, whether they need support from the government, and what kind of funding. So funding is available. I think a lot of funding models, even now IITs are developing a lot of funding models. So funding models are available in the country. One more thing I would like to put on the table, that the banks now have developed the capability to make a custom made solution. So you don't need to look for a standard product which is available in the market. We sit with you, look at the cash flow, what kind of cash flow is available, and then matching the cash flow, we can develop something. So you don't really need to look for, okay, whether this is available with you, no. So because many of the industries would require highly tailored solution. It will not work. For example, the capability center for shipping may be different from the capability center for some other industry. So they are available, they're workable, and the money is there.
The other aspect, which I think I will again request Ashutosh and Saiket, Shipping Corporation, GM Finance talked about export agency. So, I mean, whether this aspect also has been looked at by IFSCA and also by CARE for, from rating perspective.
ECA we have been engaging with, both with EXIM as well as with ECGC. We have been encouraging them, but I think the feedback that we have received from ECGC, again, matter of fact, is that the priorities are driven by the return on capital and availability of capital, and the capital is limited, and their support is required for the short-term assets. And these long-term assets right now, they need to work on those policies. I think this is the area where probably industry has to work with ECGC. I think one of the panelists in the previous or now, they mentioned that the ECS, I think Das Saab talked about it, that ECS of other countries have worked, now ECS of our agencies have to work forward. I think the area where EXIM and ECGC both have to come forward. Another area which we can trigger, we had discussed initially, again, can be NCGTL, because the credit guarantee organization. So they can also provide a credit guarantee support for the industry in India to get the foreign currency capital or domestic capital.
See, the key difference between the domestic financing arrangement and the wonderful setup that Gift City is providing is that in Gift City, you have financial institutions who had adopted UN PRI model, who have adopted UN social development model, and they, by that adoption, they are compelled to fund green assets. They cannot fund to something which is carbon heavy like a steel, a cement, etc. Now, in domestically, we do not have such pools of capital which are sustainable owned. Now, we have only history to look at. So when we said, when the country said that I want to promote MSMEs, so we came 15, 20 years ago with something called a priority sector lending norms. And there was a set of regulations which were given. Banks were incentivized that this is how it is to be. Today, if we have such an incentives, if you see the China model, from 2008 to 2018, they have given direct subsidy of only $5 billion. $95 billion has been the other taxonomy and the tax related benefits that they have given. So this is the scale of operations. There has to be some policy mechanism around which says, okay, if you do sustainability linked loans, then you get a benefit. In Gift City, wonderful structure is already available. You're just waiting for people to get there actually, both on the aircraft leasing and on the ship leasing front. I'll just leave it at that.
Since you touched upon the China part, see, I think unique thing again, why I was pushing on the previous part is that if you see 2008 when GFC happened, great financial crisis happened, and the Western banks started vacating the space on the ship financing. At that time, when the Chinese government came out with a policy to support this industry and they started going big, at that time, none of the Chinese bank was in top 15. In 2017, they were in top 5. And now you will see top 3, they're always there. And you will have multiple banks that are top 15 in China. In 2017, the Chinese banks, they had 23 leasing subsidiaries. Chinese Bank, Bank of China, China Merchant, China Commerce, all of the banks had set up their subsidiaries which were doing leasing. So government, it's okay. We can always say that India cannot be China, rightly so, because the government, bank and everything is the same. Here we are determined by the various interests of the country, but that alignment need to be made in place. But now we need to look into the commercial bank if they come out with a subsidy structure, but NAFID, RECs, infra opened, they can come into that space. And CGTL probably can provide guarantee. And on top of it, you have MDF, which can hold the structure together.
Kavitaji, I have a point out here. It's a high time we need to, think out of the box. There have been many success stories globally, but fact of the matter remains we are into an era where we have to chart our own way. And when you look at the success, Sharma ji mentioned about the renewables part from 2 gigawatts to 220 gigawatts in the span of a decade or so. We are the third largest in terms of the installed capacity. Most of the funds have been mobilized either through the banks or the private parties like asset managers and all. While there is a dearth of capital, no denying that fact. But if we are able to build and correct our structures whereby the lender or the investor is sure of that the money they are investing in the company is safe, or the authority where they are investing the money is safe, I believe at least we can make a start. And then gradually the foreign capital all can come. Idea should remain that how do we optimize whatever capital we have? And that also includes what Madam mentioned about the treasury management part, your pension liabilities part and all, because you cannot take finance in different compartments. It has to be looked in totality. So whatever cash flows we are having, how are we making a best use of it, and then also putting structures in place. On the manpower part, I believe as a country we don't have a dearth, and that is the reason when you look at the seafarers market share of ours, while the shipbuilding is less than 1%, ship ownership is at 1%, but in seafarers we have 11 to 12% share, which only means that we have enough and more manpower. But the challenge or the endeavor should be how do we create our own flourishing shipbuilding industry which can take care of inland waterways and maritime business and all, and save that 75-80 billion dollar money which we are spending abroad. And the financing will start from banks, will come from asset managers, from pension fund, from insurance and all, because there are certain set of investors which are mandated to invest long. If we speak about a pension fund, which is at 12 lakh crores, insurance industry is 60-70 lakh crore, PF and pension, which some of the asset managers are managing are 50-60 lakh crore. In totality, we are speaking about 120 lakh crore of industry, which is mandated to invest long. Then we have banks and mutual fund. So at least let's make a start domestically, and then we go abroad in terms of getting a cheaper fund rather than starting from abroad and paying through the nose and then come domestically. So this is the limited point which I wanted to make.
That was really a good point, and I think a very good point to conclude also, because it was a very positive note that before accessing global capital, let us leverage the capabilities that we have through a proper structuring, some innovative products, some institutional and policy reforms. So I think it's almost 1:15 and time to have lunch also. So I think it has been a very good discussion. I hope the audience has enjoyed the discussion. And I also want to thank all the speakers for their insightful discussion, the knowledge that they have shared. And also want to thank SCI for organizing this event. KPL also is a co-organizer and sponsor, and also Navixel 7 and Ministry. And I think let us break for lunch. Thank you all. Thanks.
Thank you to our esteemed panelist and moderator, madam. It was really insightful and delightful to hear you all. In finance, a recognition is a big dividend, and therefore, to felicitate our panelist and moderator, I would request our dignitaries, DG Shipping sir, Executive Chairman IR Class sir, CMD ACI sir, MD KPL madam, and Director Finance CSL to please come on the dais and felicitate our speakers and moderator. I would first request our speaker, Mr. Ashok Sharma sir, to please come on the dais. I request Mr. Shavraj Mehta to please come on the dais. I request Mr. Ashutosh Sharma to please come on the dais. Big round of applause. Now I request Mr. Amit Gupta to please come on the dais. I request Mr. Saikat Roy to please come on the dais. We also take opportunity to felicitate our dignitaries on dais today. I request Captain B.K. Tyagi, CMD ACI, to please present a memento to our chief guest, Sri Sham Jagannathan ji, as a token of our gratitude and appreciation for the invaluable guidance and visionary leadership in the maritime sector. Thank you, sir. I request Captain Tyagi sir to please present a memento to guest of honor, Mr. Arun Sharma, Executive Chairman, IR Club. I request CMD sir to felicitate Madam Cynthia, Managing Director, Kamaraja Port Limited. And I request CMD sir to felicitate Director of Finance, CSL. Now I request Captain Somraj sir, Director P&A SCI, to kindly felicitate CMD SCI and present the memento. Now I take the opportunity to welcome today's captain of the discussion, our moderator, Ms. Kavita Sadhvi Madam, to please come on the dais. Please give her a big round of applause. I would now request the dignitaries to please take a seat on the dais. As we proceed to the conclusion of the ceremony, it is important that we must thank who made today successful. As every balance sheet must be signed off, so must be every event. I now invite Mrs. Charushila Gulapalli Madam, CFO, SCI, to deliver the vote of thanks, acknowledging all those who have worked hard for today's event. Madam.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks at the close of this insightful event, held as a prelude to the India Maritime Week 2025. First and foremost, we would like to express gratitude to our chief guest, Sri Sham Jagannathan DG Shipping, for taking time out of his extremely busy schedule to grace this occasion and share his inspiring words. Your presence and insights have truly set the tone for the upcoming celebrations of India Maritime Week. Your exhaustive presentation covered diverse range of topics, including the geopolitical uncertainties, the importance of Atmanirbhar Bharat, the legislative reforms undertaken by the government to pave the way for sustainable shipping in the cost-effective way. Our heartfelt thanks to our guest of honor, Shri Arun Sharma, Executive Chairman, IRS, for his valuable insights. Sir gave us a glimpse of the future of Indian maritime industry, touching upon the green initiatives that are required in the industry. A special note of appreciation to Madam Iris India, MD Kamarajan Port Limited, for her informative talk on the initiative of Navik 7 and Kamarajan Port Limited. As a finance person, I can very much relate to the reconciliation issues highlighted by Madam. We often find it difficult to explain pro report to our auditors. We are grateful to our distinguished panelists, Shri Amit Gupta, Shri Sanket Rao, Shri Ashutosh Sharma, Shri Savraj Mehta, and Shri Ashwin Kumar Sharma for sharing their perspectives with such clarity and depth. A warm thankful to Madam Kavita Sadhvi for moderating the session so effectively and ensuring a seamless flow of ideas. Special thanks to Shri E.J. Dosh, Director Finance CSL, for gracing this occasion. Thank you, Shri Jay Bhatthan from our knowledge partner Grant Thornton, for giving us an overview of what is in store for us in the upcoming India Maritime Week. This event would not have been possible without the vision and leadership of our Chairman and Managing Director, Captain P.K. Tyagi, who has been the driving force behind the successful execution of this event. Sir, we thank you sincerely. We also thank Mr. Shamalindu Das, GM Finance Shipping Corporation of India, for the engaging and well-articulated presentation on maritime finance. Our thanks also goes to the organizing team, our admin PR department, led by Captain Somraj Sharma, Captain Somraj, Director PNA, and Navik Singh, and the CMD Secretary, whose tireless efforts behind the scenes ensured that everything ran smoothly from logistics and communication to hospitality and coordination. Lastly, a big thank you to all our attendees, dignitaries, industry professionals, colleagues, and friends for being part of this event and for your continued support as we gear up for the India Maritime Week 2025. We look forward to meeting you once again at India Maritime Week 2025 as we continue to work together towards a stronger maritime future for India. Thank you once again and have a great day.
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have come to the conclusion of the event today, I request you to please rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you all. Thank you all for being such a wonderful and engaging audience. I would like to inform that lunch has been arranged for all our delegates and guests, stakeholders, and young cadets. I request you to please reach on the lunch venue at 4th floor. Our officers and protocol officers will escort you to there. I request the dignitaries, SCI directors, and general managers to be seated in the auditorium for the media brief.